businesses do is waste a lot of time and energy doing the wrong things.
Getting to the next level is not a conversation of doing more, is doing less of the things that don't matter.
Other people can oftentimes do things even better than you can. Meaning, you may have wanted something done a certain way, but the way somebody else would do it may not have been what you envisioned, but it's actually better, and it's going to lead to a better outcome and a better product.
We will only act as human beings in accordance to who we perceive ourselves to be. If you don't see yourself as a multi-million-dollar business owner, well, we have to shift your identity.
Welcome to the Our Family Invest podcast, where we explore what happens when family, purpose, and entrepreneurship align. I'm Mike, a former Maui firefighter who reached financial freedom in just 5 years through real estate investing.
And I'm Caroline, a Maui-based realtor here to educate, empower, and elevate my clients to make smart real estate moves, whether right here at home or through my nationwide network.
Together, we're chasing our full potential as individuals, as a couple, and as a family. We're here to build a life that matters. And each week we share the stories of couples who inspire us to love harder, dream bigger, and grow bolder. So join us and let's learn, share, and grow together. All right, today we are sitting down with Kyle and Ariel Tresch, a couple who know what it feels like to build big things and still feel like the foundation underneath you is cracking. They spent years helping companies scale into the tens of millions of dollars, but soon after they got married, the pressure of business almost broke them. Instead of walking away, they rebuilt from the inside out. And what came out of that season is a completely new playbook for how two entrepreneurs can grow a business without growing apart. Today, they've trained thousands of couples and built a movement called Coupleneurs. But I have a feeling you're going to find the story behind that rise is every bit as powerful as the brand itself. Guys, I'm really excited to have you both on, and I really want to get into your story. But first, I want to have the two of you introduce each other. So, Ariel, if you would, tell us who is the Kyle that only you know, and then maybe Kyle, you can peel back the onion on Ariel.
I love that. So the Kyle that I know is a very powerful business leader who has had a lot of crazy experience all the way from touring in a rock band to now being, to growing teams and doing marketing campaigns and just being somebody that I think a lot of people respect and that I respect as well. A person that I like to say who earns respect.
Thank you.
I love that.
All right. This podcast is off to a fantastic start.
Yeah.
I love this. Great. And I'm assuming you want to know my perspective of Ariel that only I see. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say, what a lot of people see about Ariel is how nice and how kind she is, as well as how logical and smart she is. That's what a lot of people see on the surface, which is already a very rare combination that I really love and respect. Beneath the surface, what I think a lot of people don't know is that Ariel is also extremely courageous. And what I mean by that is some people know that Ariel has been a marine biologist studying wild dolphins on the coast of the Bahamas. And the only reason she was able to do that is because she saw a job opening where a scientist was offering a job for a cook or a chef to come on the boat to cook for world-renowned scientists. And Ariel applied for that job, having never cooked a day in her life. Wow. So she got the job, learned how to cook right before flying out, and then did the best job that any cook had ever done. And as a result of that, networked her way to getting a job as a marine biologist. And that is just one example of many of how I've seen my wife step into her power and courageously take bold moves forward that have given her the results that she has.
I love that. So just lie on your resume and it'll take you far.
No, not necessarily. Well, it was more like it was a belief that she could do it. I don't think you had to lie ever for this.
They never asked.
They never asked.
I was just like, yeah, I can be the cook. That's fine.
Yeah, because
I love that.
Yeah, it just comes down to a belief of like, if we want something, we can learn how to do it and how to create it. We can figure it out. And Ariel's a perfect testimony of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And apparently Ariel can do that in 24 hours. So that's even more spectacular.
Yeah.
And your name is Ariel, so that seems appropriate.
The mermaid. Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing.
Can you tell us about how you two first met and what was your first date like?
Yes. It's relatively juicy, actually. So we
it wasn't exactly a first date.
It wasn't. Yeah. it was kind of a weird first date because we didn't really classify it as a first date. We've known each other all through middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And when we got back together, we were both 19 years old. And the reason why we said it, we didn't really know if it felt like a date, is because we didn't actually know if we even wanted to date each other. We just knew that we got along well. That's it. And I remember taking Ariel to a concert. We went to see this band called Skillet in Ohio at an amusement park. And Ariel liked the band. I liked the band. We were just hanging out, having fun. And we also went to a condo that my grandparents own right on the coast of Lake Erie, just in Ohio. Beautiful place. And I remember Ariel and I were out after the concert, sitting on the dock, overlooking Lake Erie with the stars out. It was 2 a.m, and we were talking pretty much all night. And I looked at her and I said, hey, you know what? This would be really romantic if we actually liked each other. I know.
And I kind of liked him at the time. So I was like, oh.
So
Wow.
we didn't really know we were dating. We just knew we got along well. And I was so oblivious to Ariel liking me that I said stupid lines like that. But
Yeah.
as God would have it, 7 years later, that was the same exact spot where I proposed for her to marry me.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that our first date, though it was pretty rocky, though I was the opposite of romantic, it actually turned around later on where I got to be more romantic and actually propose to her. And thank God she said yes.
Wow.
I love that.
That's pretty well. Wait, because I thought there was something about a hurricane in your engagement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
You gotta expand on that.
So we actually, I proposed to Ariel while we were evacuating from a hurricane here in Florida, which was just the perfect cover up because she had no idea it was coming. So I forgot what year it was, but there was a hurricane here in Florida, which we moved to after we lived in Ohio for a long time. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. We're evacuating from Florida. We're going to go up to Ohio where all of our family's at. And we're going to make it feel like we're going to a winery after we visit my grandparents' condo where all of our family was gathering. So I brought Ariel to that point. We went out on the dock to watch the sunset. And all of my family's behind me. And I look over to Ariel while we're sitting on that dock overlooking Lake Erie, again, with the sun setting. And I asked her, I said, hey, you remember that moment where I asked you whether or not you wanted, remember that moment where I was like, hey, this would be really romantic if we actually liked each other? And she's like, yeah, I do remember that. And I said, hey, do you want to make it romantic? And she looked at me and she's like, no, what are you talking about? And then I had her look behind her on the hill behind that dock, and there was this big sign that said "Marry me" with the question mark with all my family there. She turns back around to me, and I'm sitting there on my knee with a ring in my hand, proposing to her.
Yeah.
So that was how we used the hurricane evacuation as my signal, okay, it's go time. She's never going to see this coming, and thank God she did not.
Wow.
Okay,
That's so good.
So just a question too, because you did ask about the romantic part.
Mhm.
Did you date in that 7-year span, or did you just try and bring her back to the dock and jump to it?
Oh, that'd be really funny. No, we did date in that
Yes.
7-year time span.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad you asked that clarification. So so over time, what we noticed is that we just, from my very anti-romantic question to begin with, over the years, we just grew closer and closer and closer together, where eventually we just decided to put the label of boyfriend and girlfriend. And then it just kind of progressed from there.
It was almost 2 years later, though.
Yeah, it took longer than I would
Took a while.
recommend. And it's really because both of us were at a stage of life where we didn't really want to be with anybody else. But we just woke up one day and we're like, we get along so well. We could be ourselves in front of each other. We both have the same values. We like each other. We think we're both attractive. This is cool. Maybe let's do this. Yeah. So it was slow, but yes, there was a progression from day one and
Well done.
7 years in.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's so good. I love it. And we almost glossed over. We did actually gloss over the touring in a rock band part. And I want to jump into that because are we talking rock band like Green Day or like Pantera or something like that, or where are we at here?
It was
Sort of
similar. I mean, I grew up on bands like that, but the band that I was in was a band called Concordia, and nobody's probably ever heard of this band, but it was it was like a mix of Linkin Park and Breaking Benjamin type rock band.
Okay.
And we were never like big. We never quite made it big, but we did get to the point where we
Got
were
really close.
got very close. We did get to the point where we were in a tour bus sharing it with other big name artists that I grew up listening to and loving. We got to like watch the band Korn from side stage. We got to open up for so many big artists, and I got to live the rock star life of touring the entire country from a tour bus. And it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
However, we didn't quite make it big. And once I got off tour in a rock band, I had to learn, okay, because I dropped out of college for this, I had to learn how do I actually make money outside of playing drums, which is my skill at the time.
Yeah.
And thank God I found the right mentors and leaders in my life who taught me how to build businesses that not only helped us, but also helped so many of the clients that we've been able to work with since then.
Yeah.
That's so good, man. That's so good. All right. So you guys have a really interesting foundation, and I'm glad that we kind of didn't skip through that too much, because that's amazing. But I want to hear how Coupleneurs started and how that whole thing evolved and where it's progressed since.
So I'll say for us, we owned separate businesses for many years. And for us, we reached a point where even though we had owned separate businesses, we still had to navigate, like, how do you be husband and wife and not, talk about work 24/7? How are you not just business partners and actually could be a married couple? How do you divide roles and refine who's doing what based on strengths and things like that? And so for us, we had to figure out and navigate those really unique circumstances that nobody else was talking about. So we kind of took that experience. And we also always got the question that I'm sure you guys get as well, which is like, how do you work together and not want to kill each other? So we had to navigate those really unique situations that we just didn't see anybody else covering.
Yeah. And this happens to even the best relationships out there. You know that phase after you get married? You know what most people call that phase?
The honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had what we call the anti-honeymoon phase, where when we actually got married, that's when all of the issues of being two business owners in one relationship just sort of overflowing in our lives. And we didn't really have any answers to turn to. At the time, there weren't podcasts about it. There weren't YouTube videos about it. There weren't experts or relationship, trainings all about this. So we were like, oh crap, how do we answer these questions that nobody else is answering? And it did get pretty dark there, where it ended up turning into some confliction, some power struggles, and a lot of hard nights that brought me to my hands and knees one day, just praying out to God, asking him for an answer for all the complexity, because we just didn't have an answer. And thank God the day that changed everything for us was a day where I got out of the guest room of our house while I'm sitting there praying to God. I get on social media, and on social media, I see my wife doing a live video for her business, and I see comments from women all over the world telling Ariel, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing what you're sharing with the rest of the world. And it was one of those moments where I got to see my wife from brand new eyes, because I got to see, oh my gosh, she's a powerhouse. And if I'm just here trying to struggle with the strength that she has, or trying to pull her into my business and make her my assistant, which was my bright idea at the time, like I realized I realized in that moment, I would actually be depriving the world of the gifts that God gave her to share. And that was the day that kind of changed everything for us, because that was the day where I ran out of the room and Ariel and I started talking, and we realized up until that point, we were trying to do all of the different things that were not designed for couples who run businesses together. Yeah. And we just decided to create it for ourselves. We asked ourselves how, like, if there's no solutions for this, what would happen if we just created it ourselves? Yeah. So we created all of these different strategies and systems and tools and techniques for how to work well together and be husband and wife at the same time. And you know how when you go on a date night and you don't post it, it didn't really happen? You guys know what I'm talking about? So true. What we would do is we would post date night videos and photos of us going on date nights while we were navigating this dynamic. And like Ariel said, people would reach out to us and they're like, how in the world do you guys make this work? You guys seem happy now. And it kind of dawned on Ariel and I. I'm like, you know what? I think we figured out some things that could be helpful for others, because not only were we able to fix the relationship tension, our businesses went from stagnant to skyrocketing. Like it was almost like figuring out how to work well together as a couple was the secret to skyrocketing our business growth.
Yeah, it lifted the lid.
So what we did is we just started sharing it with other couples in business, and they started getting results. And now, fast forward many years later, we have couples that we work with from all different revenue levels, all different industries, all different backgrounds, who are doing $100,000 months, $300,000 months, $2 million months with the systems and strategies that we share. And we just got to give all glory to God because we took the stairs so that way we could offer other couples the elevator.
Ooh,
And
that's
how
good.
cool that the question we do get asked that a lot. And we have a lot of entrepreneurial couples that do work together. So there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
But that is the question, like, how do you work together? But for you, it was how do you not work together? Because clearly that's what you two needed.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what were your businesses at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a brick and mortar. I had a dog grooming business, was my first business actually. So, and we were together at that time. So that was the first one, and he helped me grow it. He helped me with the marketing side. And then after that, with the marketing experience that I gained, and also, being in the nonprofit world and having been a marine biologist, I took that and saw so many organizations that had a really good message, but didn't know how to get the word out about themselves. So I combined kind of the marketing and business growth experience I had with seeing that in the nonprofit world, and then took that to help other businesses and organizations grow without a big marketing budget. So I really focused on the organic side of marketing, meaning, referrals, social media, things like that. And on the other hand, Kyle was doing marketing and business growth as well, but more from the paid acquisition side.
Yeah. I was a marketing consultant before it was the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, like I was just I knew how to do copywriting. I knew how to build sales funnels, and I would do this for other big companies. And what would happen is they would see so many results that they would just bring me in to manage full marketing departments. And then as I got experience doing that, I was a fractional CMO for 2 different tech companies. We were able to scale those companies by over $30 million in a very short amount of time, trained a lot of different departments, put C-suite executives in place, and just got a ton of real world experience at a very young age. And now, fast forward to today, like what we do with Couplepreneurs, we get to kind of combine our expertise, Ariel's expertise with the nonprofit and startup phase of business, and then my expertise with companies that are doing 7, even up to 9 figures in revenue.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like a perfect recipe. And people want to know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A lot of people do build coaching businesses, especially in this day and age. But very few actually build movements. So how did you differentiate that? Was that the goal from the get-go, or how did you build the community?
That's a really good question.
Honestly, I'll say for us, I think we just filled a really big gap, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of couples out there who are either building businesses together or desire to do that, but there was nobody else talking about it. And it was what we in the marketing industry would call like a very big blue ocean, to the sense that we had the ability to solve a problem that nobody else was speaking about. So that was a big part of it for us. But what else would you add?
Well, I will say we didn't set out to create a movement.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened, which we're very blessed to say. It actually started with like, are there other couples out there?
Yes.
Are there other couples that care about this and like have these discussions? So we started a Facebook group. And
are we the crazy like 1% of people out there?
Yeah. And I'm sure people listening to this, like if you and your significant other work together, you know that a lot of the couples that might be in your local area, they might not see eye to eye like you do. They might not get your crazy visions and goals and desires and dreams. They might look at you like you have 3 heads when you talk about the businesses you want to grow or what you want to create. And for us, we're like, man, we don't know a lot of couples in our local area. What if we could build an online community where we can actually get a bunch of couples together and talk about things that nobody else is talking about? So that's why we started our Successful Couples of Business Facebook group. It's a completely free community. It's only for couples of business. And that group alone went from 0 to over 6,000 members, whereas just couples of business. Yeah. And we see that same type of dynamic with the couples that we work with when they come to our live events, or, they see all of the other couples in the room with them. They realize, oh, wait a second, we're not alone. Yeah. There are other couples that are crazy like us, and crazy like in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that movement kind of just started on its own as a result of giving people the place to feel like they're not alone.
Yeah, like they're on track.
It's so cool because there's not a lot of places where entrepreneurial couples really connect, other than like through friends or at conferences or whatever.
But that's kind of almost
industry.
self-made.
But you've created a community online for it where I mean, I don't know of a whole lot of them that exist. So that's really cool. And you did it a while ago too.
Yeah.
So you've built 6,000 couples. That's amazing. That's really cool. And I imagine that, they're all learning from each other as they grow
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Learning from each other, holding each other accountable, championing each other,
Yeah.
making connections. It's really, really cool to see, because even the clients that we work with, get to come to these in-person mastermind events that we hold in South Florida, and the connections that they're able to make at these events become lifelong friends,
Yeah.
promotional partners, podcast guests, and just like connections that change their lives. And for us, it's just an honor to be facilitating that. We
Yeah.
can't take credit for that kind of stuff. We just created the
Sure.
environment for those things to happen, and it's a blessing to see what's come of it as a
Yeah.
result.
I love that. Well, so if you've seen so many of these successful couples kind of probably come from an area where, maybe they weren't quite as successful yet,
Sure.
and then they built into that brand that they've developed or whatnot, what would you say is the most powerful growth lever for these couples that they often overlook in their business?
It depends on what stage they're at currently and where they want to go. So I would actually say the answer is a little bit different depending on are they in the startup phase from 0 to 1 million, if they're from 1 million to 10 million. So are you kind of talking about the startup phase?
Early.
Sure, let's start with the startup phase.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll give you there's a macro level answer, and then there's different answers based on the stages of business. From a macro level, like if we were just going to hit one button and say every business can focus on this, it would really be just the business constraint being the compass of what to focus on. And what I mean by that is this: like if you look at any problem in any business, there's usually one big constraint or bottleneck that is stopping that business from growing. And a lot of times with couples who are running businesses together, they will disagree on what the priority is in terms of what problems to fix in the business. However, if you can objectively, as a couple, decide and determine based on our stage of growth, what is the primary constraint, that primary constraint acts like a third-party compass to guide and navigate the couple's decision on what to prioritize. So, for example, when you're between 0 to 1 million, typically the primary constraint at that stage is sales. We need to refine our marketing system so that way we get as much sales through the door of one core offer or one core service till we hit 1 million, and make sure we can do that consistently so it's not just like a flash in the pan. That is typically like the macro level constraint. And of course, like if you drill down into the micro, there's different things at different stages. But from a big picture standpoint, that's what we see. Now, from 1 to 10 million, things start to change a little bit, where now we got to bring in more team, more infrastructure, more leadership, so that way the owners can start to take their hands out of the pie and not feel like the business is going to implode if they go on vacation.
Yeah, and the reason I would say that like the biggest growth lever is like using the constraint as the compass, so to speak, is if you're a couple, you have a semi-objective marker that you can use to agree on what to prioritize and what to put your time and your resources to. But also what we see a lot of businesses do is waste a lot of time and energy doing the wrong things. So for just as a silly example, if you're in an early stage of business and your main priority needs to be sales, a lot of business owners will waste a bunch of time like fiddling with their website and creating the perfect logo and getting on podcast, like doing a lot of stuff that maybe at that time is not the primary driver of sales. And so the best thing that they can actually do is go, what is the constraint and what's the solution that is most correlated or most closely tied to solving that constraint so we could graduate to the next level of business.
And as a little hint, it's often not what most people expect it to be.
From the people that we know, and myself included in this, I am usually the constraint, and I don't see it. Right? Do you see that a lot with couples? Like,
yes.
I see this a lot with a lot of businesses where the CEO or the founder or the president or whatever is that bottleneck.
Yes.
Right? And so, how do you get them out of their own way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Pretty much 100% of the time, that always is going to be the case to some degree, where the CEO, the owner, is going to be the bottleneck, because ultimately they're the ones that make the decisions, and the decisions are the things that move the needle for that business owner. So how we get them out of their own way with that is a couple different things. From a mindset perspective, it's getting them to realize that it's okay to let go of the control that they might be trying to hold on to. Because fundamentally, from human behavior, we will do the things we are comfortable with, and we'll just kind of get a routine and a habit and stay stuck or stagnant in what we've always done. But you guys know as well as we do, if you're consistently doing what you've always done, you're only going to produce the same results you've always gotten. So the trick is, how can we shift you from doing what you've always been doing to actually doing new things that are in alignment with where you say your business, where you want your business to be, right? Like where we want to go with this. That's when we have to shift the behavior. But in order to shift the behavior, we also have to shift the belief.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, we will only act as human beings in accordance to who we perceive ourselves to be. So if you don't see yourself as a multi-million-dollar business owner, and you don't have the required and relevant skills to become a multi-million-dollar business owner yet, well, we have to shift your identity, which will shift your belief, which will shift your behavior, so you can step into that. And this is obviously at the fundamental core, but then in addition to that, it's identifying the core skill deficiencies of your current stage, so that way you can advance from one stage to the next. Yeah, that'd be what I would say there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so good, man. You very eloquently put that in a very practical way for, I think, most people.
Oh, thanks.
So if you were to turn the camera around now and look at you and your business, what would you need to do to step out of your own way and grow Coupleneurs over the next 5 years? And what does that look like?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Yeah. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, we had these conversations as a couple all the time.
Yeah.
Because we try to hold ourselves accountable to the same exact things that we hold, hundreds of clients accountable to, which is, what is our constraint? Where do we need to grow? And I will tell you, the biggest question we ask is, what do we need to let go of?
Yes.
Because a lot of times getting to the next level is not a conversation of doing more, is doing less of the things that don't matter. So we ask ourselves, what do we need to let go of? And a lot of times we need to let go of a belief that is stopping us to the next level. And I will tell you that for us right now, because we've experienced a big, massive growth spurt, the conversations we're having now is, how can we trust our team enough to do the work that still produces the same results that all of our clients have gotten? And because we've had clients that have told us that the work that we've done with them has done more for them than years of therapy, years of coaching, all these different things that they tried. They come to us and they're like, this radically changed our lives on every level. And to us, while that's a great thing to hear, it's also a burden. It's a responsibility to maintain. So right now, I would say for us, it's, how can we find and train the right people in order to make sure that standard of excellence stays as a cornerstone of everything we do?
That's so good.
Okay.
And building that, like, I imagine that you can build some of that from the inside up, right? Because these are people that you're training. And when you start off as the talent, which you are, right, it's hard to replace that. And when you're the face of it, everyone wants to come to you.
Right.
So if you're building a big community, that means that you are the bottleneck until you can replace yourselves somehow within that business.
Exactly.
Right. So I love that you think about all these things and you're coming up with solutions for them. That's so good.
And I would say that is a real challenge. The control, the mom and pops, the, founder's story is not only there are people that do certain aspects of your business better than you.
Right.
And also there are people that won't, but they're still getting the job done. So that fine line of relinquishing control, getting your time back, continuing to scale, but also not micromanaging and getting caught in the nitty-gritties. Yeah.
Or, for some people, it's really hard to be okay with 80%.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you just said is the bane of my existence. It's exactly that. Yeah. It's like, C's get degrees, they say. But yeah, 80. But
I remember that.
Yeah. I did hear a quote that was very freeing, though. It was from Dan Martell in the book, Buy Back Your Time, when he said, 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that.
We just have to keep remembering that, because it's still hard to. actually put that into action sometimes, at least in our experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, all right. So tell us about Couplepreneurs 2026. I know you have a conference coming up. What can people expect from that? Is it only for your clients? Is it open to the public? Where's it at?
Do they have to be a couple yet? You would be surprised at the questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're talking about our event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have an event called Couplepreneurs Live. So yeah, our next one is in April of 2026, and you do not have to be a client to attend. So we have a lot of couples from all over the world that come to that, and it's a mix. It's a mix of, usually they are a couple first, I will say that, but most people are already in business together, or they each have separate businesses. We do have some people that come though where maybe one person is the entrepreneur and they want to bring their partner into the business more with them. So they're usually a couple, but they're not always the entrepreneur couple fully yet.
Sure.
But I would say the majority are. They've been in business, with each other for multiple years, and they want to figure out how to make this thing work.
For you guys probably know as well as we do, it's hard to get into a room with other couples who believe in you, understand you, get you, champion you. And what we've created with Couplepreneurs Live is exactly that. It's a mix of a in-person conference with workshop style activities where you and your partner can actually take what you're learning and implement it right then and there, having discussions that you normally wouldn't have when you're in the day-to-day of your business. So what Couplepreneurs Live 2026 looks like is we have an oceanfront resort where we are hosting an event where couples are flying from all over the world to come learn from us and other very well-known, very well-established couples in business who talk about, here's how you scale while maintaining your intimacy as a couple. Here's how you refine your roles at scale so that way you're not stepping on each other's toes. Here's how you have communication differences when you are completely two different personalities trying to get to the same conclusion. And how do you do that in a way that's loving versus ways that lead to conflict or resentment over time?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's how to put a team in place so that way you can free up your time to spend it doing more of the things that you love outside of the business.
Yeah. So we talk about all of these things that are real life business applications. And what we've been told about Couplepreneurs Live is that it is the place for couples to come to who want to radically grow their business, but don't want to sacrifice what matters most in the process. So April 16th and 17th this year is when we're holding Couplepreneurs Live 2026. And it's open to anybody who has an established business, is a couple in business, and wants to scale to the next level.
Hey family, real quick. If you'd rather watch your content, head over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You'll find this episode and all our episodes over there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your takeaways in the comments. Now, back to the show.
I love it. And it's going to be right here in Maui, right?
I wish. No, it's going to
2027.
Well, maybe one day.
Here, yeah.
One day, we'll do that a Maui version. But no, it's going to be held in South Florida.
Yeah.
It's South Florida in a city called Deerfield Beach. It's close to the Fort Lauderdale airport, so people could fly there and drive there, or you can even fly to West Palm Beach, and it's not too far.
That sounds amazing. Guys, I love all the success that you've gotten, and it's super well deserved. You guys are well spoken. You've got great answers for everything we're throwing out there. But I want to go back a little bit, and I want to talk about you mentioned this part in your marriage that kind of got a little bit dark right after you got married. And I'm curious because there's a lot of stresses that come, especially after you get married, right? There's things that you just didn't know. But what were the signs that you maybe ignored that was like, this could break a stress or this is normal stress?
I could say, I don't know if I would say it's a sign, but the thing that I noticed for me on my end is Kyle would voice his frustrations with the fact that sometimes, it felt like we were just business partners and we weren't a romantic couple. And for me at the time, I was still excited about the business. So to me, I'm like, oh no, we're fine. And so I would just kind of blow it off. And so when he would voice his concerns or how he was feeling, I would dismiss how he was feeling as not a reality because I didn't feel the same way. Sure. And so I know that was on my end. And we flip-flopped. There were, years later, there were times where I felt like, we were focused a little too much more on the business and he was all in it. So there were different stages, but really in the early stages, it was hearing that he had a concern and dismissing it rather than taking it seriously and actually going, okay, this is how you're feeling. That means it's a problem. And that means we need to do something about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Anything
good.
on your end?
Yeah, on my end, when those situations were happening, the early signs I didn't recognize at the time, but man, if anyone's listening and you're experiencing this, please like let this be an alarm bell. When I would voice those concerns and Ariel did not seem to acknowledge them or care, what I would do is I would start to process that internally by myself and start to build this belief that started small and then it got bigger, that okay, maybe the best thing to do is you do you, I'll do me. And there's even a song by a band called Blue October that I was listening to during this very dark time. And the song is literally called I'll Do Me, You Do You. And I remember listening to that when I was driving home from the gym and it was really dark outside. And I'm like, is this what marriage is supposed to be? Is this how I'm supposed to be as a husband? Is this what it's supposed to look like? And again, we didn't know what we were doing at the time, but if anybody's listening and you feel that way, that is a signal and a sign that you and your partner are absolutely not in alignment with where you want to go and how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that it doesn't have to look like that.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
When pressure of business is bleeding into marriage, what is the fastest way to change that vibe?
Mm.
You want to take that?
Yeah. So if we had a button that we could press that could automatically prioritize the relationship, no matter how busy business gets, it would be this one button. You have to remember, first and foremost, that the person that put all of the demands of business on your calendar is you. And the person that can take those demands off your calendar is you.
Yeah.
And I remember Ariel and I got to this moment where we looked at our calendar and we're like, my gosh, we are so busy with all the business. We can't focus on each other. Who put this here? And then we realized, wait a second, we put this here. We chose this.
Yeah.
We have the power as entrepreneurs to say yes and to say no to the things that we do and don't do. But a lot of times we forget that because we create this demand for ourselves. We create value in how we show up and how we serve. And then that demand and that value and that validation we get from working and solving problems and building a business becomes so all-encompassing that now we blame the busyness of it as the reason why we're not prioritizing the most important person in our life.
Yeah.
So truthfully, it's not the sexy answer, but it's the true answer. And it works for thousands of couples that we talk to. In order to get that romance back and to prioritize your marriage, you have to create the space, protect the space, and put transitions in place.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is you both come together and say, when does work start? When does work stop? When does romance time start? When does romance time stop? We put that on the calendar. Then we together as a couple decide, all right, what are the boundaries we're going to put in place? If we say we're going to stop work at a certain time and be with each other, that's the commitment. And that also becomes the new definition of success. Because let's be honest, we're all business owners, right? There's never going to be a time where you just go, you know what? There's nothing left to do in the business.
We're not busy anymore.
We're bored now. Like, it's just never going to happen, right? There's always more to do. So the only way it stops is when you tell it to stop. So if we make stopping on time the new definition of success, so that way we can prioritize the person in our lives that we feel like deserves our prioritization, that is what allows us to even have the chance to prioritize a relationship in that season. And then the last thing I would say is putting transitions in place. We teach 7 different transitions for how to transition your mind and your body and your emotions from work mode into romance mode. And if you can give yourself 30 minutes of time between when you stop work and when you're going to be with your partner on a date night or dinner or whatever, and you put one of these transitions in place, you can go from thinking about all of the problems at work to being fully present with your partner, enjoying the gift that they truly are.
Yeah, that one resonates with me of just, I've always packed my schedule from morning to night without those buffers, those transitions that you're mentioning and how important they are. And that's why you see a lot of, especially working moms, eating beef sticks in the car, not a full meal, you know? And so having that time and those transitions and just that think time is so valuable.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you pointed that out.
And by the way, we're out of beef sticks.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds
that's
good.
true.
No, I love this, guys, and I'm really excited to follow your journey and to learn more about you guys and join your community, because it just sounds phenomenal, and that's kind of, something that we've built a lot over here too, is kind of putting these people together, these business owners who are also couples, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, if we were to zoom out and we were to have this same conversation in 10 years,
Mm.
what would you hope that is added to the Couplepreneurs bio by then?
Oh, you guys ask the best
Yeah.
questions. I really appreciate
Thanks.
that. You guys are asking us questions that we've done so many podcasts, and like you guys are the first ones to ask these types of
Yeah.
questions, which I love. Do you want to go
I
first?
Cool.
love that.
Thanks, Pi.
Yeah.
I'm rocking.
So I'll give a couple things. For us, we love business. Specifically me, I love the challenge of business. I love being able to grow and figure out what the problems are, and I like the systematic structure of that. But for me, I think we also look at business as a vehicle to do other things, right? So there's things that Kyle and I love outside of business, even though we love business itself. And so for me, I obviously, as a marine biologist, I have a deep heart for marine conservation. And for me, when I see nonprofits who don't always have the funding, or don't always have, they have to shake hands and kiss babies in order to get the funding, I want to be able to create an organization that is self-funded, that does things like marine conservation, that oftentimes other organizations don't have the ability to do, simply because they don't have the funds for it. And I want to be able to fund those organizations. So on my end, there's a marine conservation arm that I want to have as a part of my life that is fed and fueled through the business itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have your own similar goals and dreams as well.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like Ariel said it, Couplepreneurs is just one of many vehicles to make a positive difference in the lives of other
Yes.
people. And one of the core things that drives me is setting a positive example for the younger generation. Like growing up, we didn't necessarily see a ton of examples of happy, healthy marriages in our lives. And we thought Couplepreneurs could be a great example to showcase what it could look like to have a thriving marriage and a thriving business at the same time. So my hope is that as Couplepreneurs expands, if we were to have this conversation 10 years ago, it's not just a conversation of what we're talking about today, where we have clients that are crushing it in business and going on more date nights than ever before. It's now evolved into a conversation of, here's what this has done for our kids. Here's what they're doing in business as a result.
Yeah.
Here's the inspiration and the organizations that all of the clientele's children are doing as a result of seeing mom and dad being happy again. Like, that's the conversation that we have. And that's actually some of the best testimonials we've ever gotten. People will tell us, our clients will tell us, they knew the work was working when their kids came up to them and said, why are mommy and daddy so happy now?
Yeah.
Why? Like, they could see a tangible difference. And to us, that matters even more than millions in the bank and tons of business success. Not to say that that's a bad thing, and it's a great thing, but my gosh, if we could use this as a vehicle to impact the younger generation, that just takes us up to a whole new level.
Oh, that's so good.
And they are such sponges. And so hearing how you are both taking ownership and providing a platform for people to really plant roots, because life is temporary, but generations to come, like these are the pillars that strong foundational families and humans need. So
100%.
I love that.
Yeah. Guys, we will start wrapping it up here, but I do want to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah.
And these ones we kind of ask all of our guests. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. The first one is, who or what has inspired your journey the most?
Let me take it.
Yeah, go for it.
This is going to sound like the cheesy podcast answer, but it's actually true. I would say my husband. I would say Kyle. I'm not drawn to like look up to a lot of people in like a idolization sort of way. And I think that in some ways that is very positive. But when I look at Kyle, he is somebody, I said it at the beginning of this podcast, that he's somebody that deserves respect. And whether it's in his technical skill set and his expertise, or it's just in how he treats people, how he shows up with integrity. So I've learned from a business perspective, but also from a like soft skill perspective, so much from him, whether it's communication, leadership, are probably the two biggest ones that come to mind, not to mention, other things in business like marketing and things like that. But there's been so much that I've learned from him, and a lot of it just comes in how he shows up and who he is. So I would honestly say you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've
You do
learned.
not have to say me, by the
Yeah,
way.
I feel like if I say Ariel, it's just going to sound canned.
You do not have to.
Well, I mean, I have learned a lot, obviously, from Ariel. She has helped me a lot, but just to not follow the same pattern.
Fair.
I would say I've been blessed to have so many different mentors and advisors in my life where if you guys have ever heard the phrase standing on the shoulders of giants, that's really my entire life. I've had like a mentor in each season of my life that has helped propel me to the next level. So I actually can't say there's like one person. Like if I was going to say one person, I would say Jesus Christ, like who I have faith in, who I've learned so much from. I would say Jesus would be the person who has changed my life and inspired me more than anybody else. When it comes to the business context, I've had a mentor at each level. And even to this day, we get to have advisors and counselors and mentors who pour into our lives, who we get to stand on. They're the shoulders of giants, and I feel like everybody listening, you already know the importance and the value of having an advisor and having a mentor in your life, because you already know you can't do this on your own. Like you're only going to get the same results if you just keep doing the same thing on your own and you don't reach out for help. So I would say I can't give one, but because there's just too many.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. All right, guys. How do you find peace?
Yeah. Oh, I can go.
Go for it.
I mean, because I already started touching on this. For me, peace is found from a spiritual standpoint. We can look at the opposite of what peace is to kind of point us towards what can give us peace. The opposite of peace is feeling very anxious, and feeling very anxious, for me at least, comes from trying to control so many things that are outside of my control. Right. And it's a safety mechanism that we have. How I found peace is through my faith in God and casting my cares on God, like the Bible says to do, and trusting God with the things that I can't control. So me, walking behind our house, going on the beach in the morning, spending time in prayer, talking to God, and taking all of the things that are stressful, that are outside of my control, and giving it to God, and having faith that He will orchestrate my life in a way that I can't control anyway. That's one of the only things that gives me peace these days, especially as our business continues to grow and our responsibility grows. So that's a great question. And that's my honest answer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would say, so I would give a practical as well as a mindset. And the mindset part actually comes from you, which is it's to kind of pull your thread a little bit more. Kyle's created like a framework, so to speak, of how to detach from trying to control everything in your life, and sometimes even control the emotions of other people, right? We don't like when we get bad reactions from people. So to kind of detach from that, it's attaching to input and detaching from output, meaning attach to the things that you can control, the things that you put in. Did I do my best? Did I show up, with what I had today? Did I do what was required in order to help this team member or help this client or whatever it was? Like, did I do my best? And then the output is the things that are not within your control, which are like, did somebody else do the things that you maybe guided them or instructed them to do? Did they, have the resilience and the effort involved? So like all of those different things, it's a helpful framework of what are the things that I can control and how can I detach from the things that I don't control. So that's from a mentality perspective. From a practical perspective, on a regular basis, we both have to just have time, especially me, to sit and process my thoughts. And if that time does not exist on the calendar, we do not show up as good business leaders. Because everything, if you're running a business, everything stems from you. The example that you set shows up in your team and shows up in your family and the people around you. And so I will have, we call it, we have our Saturday process time where we both will kind of separately process our thoughts from the week, process our emotions. What did we experience that we haven't had time to even think about throughout the week, and how can we process it and think through it? And then on Sundays, we have what we call our sacred Sundays, where we spend time and rejuvenate together as a couple. So that's from a practical perspective, how I can actually create that peace when sometimes life moves faster than you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Good answers.
That's super, super healthy. I love that. If you could sit with your younger selves for a moment, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Mine would be, you don't get what you don't ask for. And I say that because there's been so many opportunities. We talked about it earlier. There's been so many opportunities in my life where I would feel unqualified for something. I would feel like I'm not good enough for it. And who am I to try that? And some of the biggest moments in our lives and our businesses have come from not faking it, but like looking at what are the things that I don't feel qualified for and how can I just ask and see what comes of it. So whether it was me deciding to, offer my skill set to be a cook on a boat to hope that would get my foot in the door for my dream job, which it did. Or it was, when we've had speakers come speak at our Coupleneurs Live, people that I'm like, man, I don't think there's ever a way that they're going to come speak on our stage. And I reach out and I ask and they do. And so you don't get what you don't ask for. There's been so many things where I felt like I shouldn't ask, but I do. And it doesn't mean you always get what you want, but it does mean that you would be very shocked what's on the other side of just what you're willing to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm supposed to top that. That's great. I won't top it. I'll just add to it. I think if I could sit down with the younger me, I would let him know that while external achievements are great, it's not going to ultimately fulfill you. And just to know that, like, for all the high achieving entrepreneur people that are listening, you could probably relate to the feeling of hitting certain milestones in your life, whether it's the amount of money you have in the bank account, a way you look, marrying the right person, whatever it looks like. You hit these external markers and then you wait for that feeling, that rush of fulfillment to pass you, and it just doesn't come. And I think we all get to those points where you recognize that no amount of money and no amount of success will ultimately fulfill you, because if you're looking for external markers to validate your worth as a human being, it's just like drinking salt water from the ocean expecting to be nourished. So I would tell that young boy, hey, it's great, chase your dreams, do all that, but please recognize that your value as a human is not in your external achievements. Your value as a human is just being who you are. And you are created by God for a purpose, on purpose. And that's ultimately what's going to give you fulfillment, is seeking God and seeking your purpose in this life and walking that out by faith. It's not going to come from all the external achievements. So achieve the big things, but make sure your worth is not tied to those things.
Yeah, love that. All right, we'll get you out of here on this one. What is one thing that you've learned recently that made you stop and breathe and maybe just see life a little differently?
I think you did get me on that one. I'm gonna let you take it.
Yeah, because we want to be, we don't want to just give you like a canned answer. We want to give you like the authentic answer. Recently what happened this year, especially here in 2025, there's a lot of really, really good things, but also a lot of challenges. As you grow businesses and you get to know more people, you start to realize that not everybody does what they say they're going to do. People are going to hurt you. People are going to betray you. Sometimes they're people close to you. And I think that one thing I learned this year that did make me stop and pause and see things differently, again, it comes out of my prayer time with God and understanding what it's like to truly forgive. And I know that feels like a weird thing to say, but for me, it got me to stop and pause and realize that while I'm sitting there so upset by how so many people might have wronged me or hurt me or stole from us or whatever, recently I got to a point of recognizing, yeah, they're imperfect humans just like you. You're also imperfect. And that's not to shame myself. It's just to recognize that we all have done things that we're not proud of. And in order for us to get through this life as healthy as we can be, as influential as we want to be, we have to forgive others just as we forgive ourselves, and give grace to others for their human experience and having some, let's say, character flaws that were probably also created by other people hurting them. And as the saying goes, hurt people. So I remember just recently being at a point and praying to God and just like processing a lot of pain that has been caused by other people. And what got me to stop and pause is recognizing, yeah, they're imperfect, but so am I. And thank God that other people forgave me for the wrongs that I've done in my life. And because I've gotten to experience that, I can now extend that grace and that forgiveness towards others. So I don't take it. So the TLDR of that is I no longer take things as personally, and I try to understand where people come from and forgive them, even if they're doing something wrong or something that was uncalled for or unjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
To piggyback off of that a little bit, I
Really?
think a little bit.
Whoa.
Yours is going to be way deeper. But I feel like this has been a kind of a central theme even of our conversation today around, I think there's a very common belief that a lot of entrepreneurs have, which is nobody can do it as good as I can. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because that means you hold a high standard and that shows up in your work and the people around you. That's great. But I think what I've learned recently is even though it feels like other people can't do it as well as you can, there are ways that not only can you give, 80% is sometimes good enough, right?
Right.
But other people can oftentimes do things even better than you can. Meaning you may have wanted something done a certain way, but the way somebody else would do it may not have been what you envisioned, but it's actually better and it's going to lead to a better outcome and a better product. And overall, we actually have a saying called give people the benefit of the doubt. So we'll oftentimes look at each other and say, like, well, give them the bod, right? So give them the bod. BOD.
Yeah.
So if somebody didn't do something that we wanted to, or were shocked by somebody's behavior, well, give them the bod. Like maybe they had a good intention behind this. Maybe they had a motivation behind this that we, didn't see. Or maybe they had a reason for doing this that they thought was better. And so it's kind of like twofold. It's number one, people can actually do things sometimes better than you imagine. And number two, give them the benefit of the doubt in the sense that there's usually a motivation and a reason people behave the way that they do. And if you just take some time to recognize that, usually you're not as far off from understanding somebody as you think.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like it. Bod. Benefit of the doubt. Great.
Give them the bod. So
Kyle,
next time
that's going to
somebody
be a
cuts you off
thing
in
now.
traffic- Yeah, every time someone cuts us off in traffic here in Florida, it's like, just give them the bod. Maybe they're just racing to the hospital to see somebody before they're going.
I'm sure it is.
Just give them the bod, baby.
Yeah.
As long as you're not naming one of your fingers the bod, that
Right.
That's right.
Kyle, Ariel, thank you both so much for taking the time, for sharing so much goodness. You guys are awesome. If our audience wants to connect with you, attend your event, ask about the community, where is the best way for them to do that?
I would say probably our Instagram. Instagram's a great place. It really is us behind the profile there. So we actually, if you guys are okay with it, if anybody wants to find us on Instagram, our handle is @Coupleneurs. If they want to send us the word vision to our DMs, then we will send them a free vision date worksheet. It's something that they can use with their partner to align on the same page and co-create a vision together and plan how to bring it to reality. So
Fantastic.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I'm going to type that in right now. Guys, thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. It's been such an honor to get to sit down and talk with you guys today. You guys have a great day.
Awesome.
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want a closer look at our journey through real life, business, and all the wild adventures, follow us on Instagram @OurFamilyInvest. And for free resources to help you on your own path, head to OurFamilyInvest.com.
If you like this episode, send it to a friend. And if you're feeling extra generous, drop us a quick review. It really helps us grow this community. Thank you so much for being part of our family today. We really, truly appreciate you.